Imagine waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of heavy furniture scraping against the floor, coming from a locked attic no one dares to enter. Night after night, the noise grows louder, more insistent. But no one is up there, at least no one alive. This terrifying story isn't a campfire tale, it really happened. It was told to me by my mother and sisters, and even to this day the memories send shivers down my spine. When I was just a baby, between 1 and 3 years old, my family lived in an old apartment on the 4th floor of a building in Nuremberg, Bavaria. Just above us, a sealed-off attic. No one went inside because there were no lights and the space had been abandoned for years. My oldest sister, Jessie, lived downstairs with her young daughter, while my parents, my middle sister Sarah, and I shared the 4th floor apartment. And that's where it all started. Only later did we learn the dark truth. A woman had thrown herself from that very attic, leaving behind 3 children. It started with the sounds. Every night, between 3 o'clock and 3:30 a.m., we heard what sounded like furniture being dragged across the attic floor. But that was impossible. No one went up there. The noises were so loud that even our neighbors complained, convinced that we were moving furniture in the dead of night. As a toddler, I was terrified of ghosts, though no one had ever told me they existed. And yet, every night, fear gripped me. They say small children can see things adults cannot. Looking back, I'm convinced I saw something no one else did. Curiosity and fear have a dangerous relationship, and my sisters couldn't resist pushing the limits. They started experimenting with glass divination, what some call a homemade version of a Ouija board. At first, nothing happened. But with each passing night, the energy in the apartment grew darker. My mother, at first skeptical, eventually joined them. Strange things started happening. Our cat, normally playful and curious, became fixated on a picture hanging above the heater, an image of the Indian god Shiva. According to superstition, such an image should never be kept in a home. One night, as if trying to escape something unseen, our cat crawled under the heater and vanished. We searched in a panic. It was as if she had been swallowed by the shadows. And then the entity spoke. "I'm going to burn them." The words came through the board, chilling my sisters and mother to the bone. But no one understood what it meant. Not yet. At first, my father dismissed it all as nonsense. But when he finally joined in, he did the one thing you should never do: he provoked it. That night, the glass they were using as a planchette flew across the room and shattered against the wall. No one had touched it. The board moved on its own. And the oppressive energy in the apartment became unbearable. One day, when I was about 2 or 3, my parents were at work, and my sisters were downstairs in Jessie's apartment. I was left alone for my afternoon nap. They had a baby monitor on just in case. Then I started screaming. My sisters ran upstairs, but when they tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. It was as if someone or something was holding it shut. For 10 agonizing minutes, they pushed, pulled, and pounded on the door as I wailed in terror. Then suddenly the door swung open. There was no one there. And then came the night Jessie's boyfriend, a known sleepwalker, did something truly chilling. In his sleep, he left the apartment and climbed the stairs toward the locked attic. Jessie followed in a panic. Key, which should not have been there, was already in the door. He turned it. He stepped inside, into the darkness. Moments later, he turned and ran back down, still deep in his trance. The next morning, he recounted a dream, except it didn't sound like a dream at all. He had seen a woman in the attic. She had spoken to him, asked him to follow her. But what she wanted him to do, he couldn't remember. For years, the sounds continued. Guests who stayed overnight heard them too. Neighbors swore they weren't imagining things. But my family couldn't take it anymore. After 3 years, we moved. To this day, I wonder if that apartment is still haunted. If the woman still lingers, waiting for someone else to listen. If the noises still echo through the attic at 3 a.m. And I wonder, did I see her even as a baby? Did I know she was there? Maybe that's why, every night, I refused to sleep. Because in the darkness, something watched me. And I watched it back.